Welcome to the Holy Land and this biblical site of the Eastern Gate. Here you can see behind me the Eastern Gate, and the Eastern Gate is one of the 8 gates to the Old City of Jerusalem, and it plays a role of one of the most significant gates of the Old City.
The incident took place here at the first station of the cross, where many Christians retrace the steps of Jesus on the way to the Church of the Holy Sepulchre, believed to be the place where Jesus was buried and rose again.
The Eastern Gate in Jerusalem, also known as the Golden Gate, has sparked controversy and debate, stirring emotions among Jews, Christians, and Muslims alike. The gate's history is shrouded in legends, mysteries, and conflicting beliefs, creating a complex narrative. The true significance of this gate is covered by myths regarding its construction and the reasons behind its closure and reopening throughout history. Join us on an intriguing journey to uncover the significance of why this gate is said to open upon the return of Jesus. Chapter 1: The Spiritual and Historical Journey of Jerusalem's Eastern Gate. Josephus, a writer from the 1st century, and old Jewish teachings called the Mishnah, both talk about a very special gate in the city of Jerusalem. They explain that this gate was not just any gate. It was the beginning of a special path that went through a place called the Kidron Valley and ended up at the Mount of Olives. This path was unique because it was only used for very important religious ceremonies. This detail shows us that the gate was more than just a way in or out. It held deep spiritual meaning for a long time, serving as a place where sacred rituals were performed and where people showed their deepest respect. When it comes to figuring out when the current look of the Golden Gate was made, there's a lot of back and forth among people who study history. The reason it's so hard to know for sure is that digging and exploring the area around Temple Mount, where this gate is quite restricted. Some of these history experts think that the gate was built a long time ago, around 520 AD, by the command of a ruler named Justinian I during a time called the Byzantine era. Then, others believe that it was put together even later, in the 7th century, by workers from the Byzantine era, who were under the leadership of the Umayyad Caliphs, a group of Muslim rulers. But that's not all. The plot thickens with research done by Leen Ritmeyer, a Dutch archaeologist in the 1970s. He came up with a theory that parts of this gate could be super old, possibly going back to the time of the First Temple. This idea adds a whole new layer of history and mystery to the gate. It suggests that this gate isn't just an old structure. It's a piece of history that connects to many different times and stories, making it a really intriguing and significant spot that's wrapped in layers of history and secrets. Throughout its long history, this special gate has been closed and then opened many times. It all started when Muslims decided to close it in the year 810. But then, the Crusaders came along and opened it again in 1102. This opening didn't last too long because Saladin chose to close it again in 1187. And then, to make sure it stayed closed, Sultan Suleiman the Magnificent built a wall across it in 1541, and it has remained shut ever since. The reason behind Sultan Suleiman's action is quite fascinating. Some people thought he closed the gate to stop a prophecy from coming true, a prophecy about a false Messiah coming. They even placed a cemetery right in front of the gate because they believed that a Jewish priest who was supposed to announce the coming of the Messiah wouldn't be able to cross through the cemetery due to certain religious rules about cleanliness. When the Ottoman Empire controlled the area, they made quite a few changes to the gate and its surroundings. They transformed the gate into a place where guards could watch over the area and built a small mosque nearby for the local people who made bricks. These changes show us how the gate kept adjusting to Jerusalem's needs and shifting religious and political climate. More recently, in 2003, the Israeli authorities decided to seal the gate to prevent a group linked to Hamas from making changes to it without permission. This action highlights just how sensitive and complicated the situation around the gate is. But then, in 2019, they relaxed this a bit and allowed Muslim worshippers to pass through the area, even though the gate itself stayed closed. For many Christians, the fact that the Eastern Gate is sealed is seen as the fulfillment of a prophecy mentioned in the Bible, specifically in Ezekiel chapter 44, verses 1 to 3. According to this prophecy, the gate is supposed to stay closed until Jesus Christ returns. This belief links the physical gate with deep spiritual expectations, showing how intertwined faith, historical events, and future hopes are regarding the Eastern Gate. As we explore the Eastern Gate's mysterious history, we discover where old prophecies and current beliefs meet. Chapter 2: The Eastern Gate's Role in Faith and Future Expectations. This story is rooted in the Bible, especially in the words of a prophet named Ezekiel. Ezekiel had a vision where he saw God's glory leaving the temple through this gate. He also said God would come back in the same way one day. Ezekiel chapter 10 verses 18 to 19, chapter 43 verses 1 to 5. Additionally, Ezekiel said that this gate should stay shut because God used it, and it would only be opened for a very important person, whom many believe to be Jesus Christ. This belief suggests that the gate will stay closed until Jesus comes back to earth again. This story connects to an event where Jesus entered Jerusalem through this gate, fulfilling a prophecy and hinting that the gate will open again when Jesus returns. Zechariah chapter 14, verse 4. However, connecting the Eastern Gate we see today and these ancient stories is tricky. The gate Ezekiel talked about seems to be part of the temple itself, not just a city gate, and the gate standing today was built long after Jesus lived on earth. Also, the temple Ezekiel described doesn't match any historical temple that was in that spot, making some people think Ezekiel was talking about a future temple, not one that existed in his time. The Eastern Gate isn't only important in Christian stories, it also holds significance in Jewish traditions as the gate the Messiah will use to enter Jerusalem. In Islamic teachings, this gate has a role in end-time events. When Suleiman the Magnificent, a leader in the 16th century, sealed the gate, many saw it as an attempt to prevent these prophecies from coming true. This shows how meaningful this gate is in the history and beliefs of different people. When Nehemiah was rebuilding Jerusalem's walls, he talked about the East Gate, showing it was an important gate among the city's gates even then. This gate faces the east, where the sun rises, symbolizing new beginnings and God's involvement in the world. This fits with the hope for a new, better time talked about in another part of the Bible, in Malachi chapter 4 verse 2, where a time of healing and righteousness is promised. So the Eastern Gate is more than just an old structure. It's a place where faith, history, and hopes for the future come together. It's a physical place that makes people think about spiritual promises and the idea of a bigger plan. Its closed doors make us curious and think about it as both a real barrier and a sign of what many believe will happen based on divine promises. With its deep history and spiritual meaning, this gate invites us to think about how physical places can show the essence of faith, the flow of time, and the waiting for future events that are important to many different cultures. The Eastern Gate story is fascinating because it mixes history with faith and the anticipation of what's to come. According to the Bible, Ezekiel, a prophet, had visions where he saw the glory of God leaving the temple through this gate and promised God would return the same way. This gate was to be closed until a special figure, believed to be Jesus Christ by many, would return. This ties to a moment in the past when Jesus entered Jerusalem through this gate, which many see as fulfilling a prophecy and hinting at a future event when Jesus will return. Yet, linking today's Eastern Gate with these ancient texts is complex. The gate Ezekiel described was part of the temple, not just any city gate, and today's gate was built after Jesus' time. The temple Ezekiel talked about doesn't seem to match any known temple from history, suggesting he might have been referring to a future temple that hadn't been built yet. This gate's importance goes beyond Christian beliefs. It's also significant in Jewish tradition as the entrance the Messiah will use, and in Islam, it's part of end-time prophecies. The fact that Suleiman the Magnificent sealed the gate centuries ago is often seen as an attempt to prevent these prophecies from being fulfilled, highlighting the gate's deep significance across different faiths. Mention of the East Gate also appears in the story of Nehemiah, who rebuilt Jerusalem's walls, indicating its importance from early times. Facing east towards the sunrise, the gate symbolizes new beginnings and divine intervention, aligning with biblical hopes for a future era of healing and righteousness, as mentioned in Malachi chapter 4, verse 2. Explore how faith goes beyond time, looking at the Eastern Gate's part in the resurrection story and its lasting symbol of hope and new beginnings for believers. Chapter 3, The Eastern Gate's Eternal Hope. The Eastern Gate is a very special place for many people because it has a big story connected to it from the Bible. This story is mostly from Ezekiel's part of the Bible. It talks about how God's presence left the temple through this gate, and that one day, God would return the same way. Many Christians believe this is very important when they think about what will happen in the future, especially about the end of the world. A long time ago, in the 1500s, a leader named Suleiman the Magnificent decided to close this gate. Some people thought he did this to try and stop a prophecy, a prediction from the Bible, from coming true. This prophecy was about the Messiah, or a savior, coming back. By closing the gate, it became more than just a gate. It became a symbol of hope and waiting for something important to happen, based on the stories from the Bible. In what Christians believe, the story of Jesus coming back to life after he died is very important. It's like the main proof that their beliefs are true. Right from the start, the first Christians talked a lot about this. They believed that Jesus coming back to life was him proving his own predictions right, and that this was a key part of their message to everyone. They thought this proved all the miracles in the Bible could really happen, showed that Jesus was really from God, and promised that people who believe in him would also get a new kind of life after they die. This goes against old beliefs that didn't care about the body, and new beliefs that doubt miracles or think Christianity is just about being good. The story of Jesus coming back to life makes it clear that our bodies are important in a spiritual way. It says that even though people make mistakes and live the wrong way, there's still hope. Through Jesus, people can be saved and become wonderful again. Understanding the Eastern Gate and Jesus coming back to life adds more to the Christian story. It talks about how God has been a part of human history, what Christians believe will happen in the future, and how God connects with us. It's a big reminder that faith is about more than just what happened a long time ago or where it happened. These stories and places point to a future where life doesn't end and everything is perfect again, thanks to Jesus. This idea makes people look forward not just to what's happening now, but to a future that's full of hope and getting everything back to the way it should be. When Suleiman the Magnificent closed the Eastern Gate, it wasn't just a small event. It made a lot of people think more about what they believed. The gate's closing tied it to a very old story from the Bible and made it a symbol of hope for many. This story says that a very special event will happen at this gate, an event that lots of Christians are waiting for. The resurrection of Jesus, or him coming back to life, is at the very heart of Christianity. This amazing event is what Christians base their faith on. The first Christians said this was proof of everything Jesus said about himself. They believed it showed that all the stories of miracles in the Bible were true, that Jesus was really connected to God, and that people who follow him have hope for something beyond death. This idea challenges older beliefs that didn't think the body mattered much, and newer ones that question whether miracles are real or reduce Christianity to just being good. The fact that Jesus came back to life in a physical body says that what we do with our bodies matters, and that despite our mistakes, there's a way to be made new again through Jesus. Looking at the closed Eastern Gate, let's see why it attracts people worldwide, showing faith, prophecy, and the search for meaning. Chapter 4: The Eastern Gate and the Tapestry of Human Belief. For a very long time, since the 1500s when the Ottomans were in charge, the Eastern Gate has been locked up. But that hasn't stopped people from all over the world from coming to see it. They look at it from far away, from the edges of the city or the beautiful Mount of Olives. Sitting high up, it gives a great view over the Kidron Valley and the Mount of Olives, making it a special spot in Jerusalem, a city that many people hold dear for religious reasons. There's a very old story, found in the Bible, in the book of Ezekiel, chapters 44 verses 1 to 3, that says this gate is supposed to stay closed until a special time comes when the Messiah, a religious leader that many are waiting for, will come back. This story is interesting and gives hope to people who follow Christianity, Judaism, and Islam, but each group thinks differently about what it will mean when the gate finally opens. Christians remember when Jesus went through this gate on Palm Sunday as a sign that this old story was starting to happen. They connect it to other prophecies too, making this gate very important for visits, especially during Palm Sunday celebrations. Jewish people are waiting for the Messiah to come through this gate on a white donkey, which makes them pray for the day the gate will open, and this event will happen. Muslims call this the Gate of Mercy and have named its two doors after mercy and saying sorry. They also believe that Prophet Muhammad went up to heaven from a rock inside the nearby Dome of the Rock, adding to the gate's importance. People who study old things, like archaeologists and historians, are very interested in learning more about the Eastern Gate's history. They have dug up and found old buildings like Solomon's Stables, which might go back to when the Kingdom of Israel was around, and a gatehouse from the time of the Byzantines, just behind the current gate that's closed. These discoveries help us understand more about the gate's past and its role in the story of Jerusalem, which is full of religion and history. Even though it's hard to do big digs right at the gate because of different challenges, the work that has been done helps show the many layers of history that are part of this famous place. Today, the Eastern Gate is really important when people talk about religion, history, and who has the right to claim different places and their stories. It's a key point in discussions about what places are holy, who can say a place is part of their heritage, and how history mixes with what people believe now and the politics of today. For those who visit or just look at its closed doors, the gate is a symbol of the many stories and beliefs that have shaped Jerusalem. It's not just an old landmark. The Eastern Gate is like a silent witness to hundreds of years of history, showing the hope for making things right and starting fresh that is at the heart of why this city is so important. This old gate, with its doors that don't open, doesn't just tell us about what happened a long time ago, but also makes people think about what's coming, acting as a bridge between the events of the past and the hopes people have for living together in peace in the future. This symbol of faith and history makes us think about the ongoing story of what people believe, their hopes, and trying to understand more. The Eastern Gate, sitting in a special place in Jerusalem, calls out to everyone who wants to feel a deeper connection to their faith and the shared history of all people. As a quiet watcher of time passing by, it shows the wish for a time of peace and togetherness, echoing the hopes of many who have stood in front of it. Through its presence, the Eastern Gate keeps the conversation going between what has happened and the dreams for a world where everyone gets along, making it a meaningful place in the story of Jerusalem and in the hearts of people everywhere. Chapter 5: The Eastern Gate's Role in Messianic Expectations Across Faiths. One special gate, the Eastern Gate, holds a lot of meaning for people from different religions because it is closed and has not been opened. This closed gate makes people think about important events that are expected to happen in the future. For example, Jewish people are waiting for the Messiah to come, Christians are waiting for Jesus Christ to come back, and Muslims see this gate as very important and call it the Gate of Mercy. All these groups of people are looking forward to something big and spiritual that the gate represents in their beliefs about the end of the world. The Eastern Gate is not just important because of the religious stories connected to it. It also deals with bigger ideas like being saved, getting help from a higher power, and seeing ancient predictions come true. This gate is a real place that means a lot more than just its stones and structure. It stands for our biggest hopes, what we want spiritually, and a higher power made the promises we believe. The fact that people still honor and care about this gate, especially because it hasn't been opened, shows how real places can connect deeply with what we hope for and dream about on a spiritual level. The Eastern Gate shows how holy places are not just buildings, but are filled with meaning. They remind us of things we believe in, but can't see. When different religions share views about the importance of the Eastern Gate, it shows how special this gate is in the spiritual life of Jerusalem. It attracts pilgrims and acts as a strong symbol of how faith can keep hope alive and bring people together across different times and cultures. This unity around the Eastern Gate shows how faith can do more than just make us believe in something. It can inspire us and create a sense of belonging among different people. Looking at the Eastern Gate helps us understand how faith is more than belief. It is a source of inspiration and brings people together, covering the gap between different generations and cultures. People worldwide, with different beliefs, look at this door and see it as a sign of big things that are yet to come. They believe that one day, something amazing will happen when the door finally opens. This belief is not just about waiting for something, but also about what it means to them. It's about hope for the future, help from above, and seeing things that were said long ago come true in the future. This gate is very special even though it's made of stone and hasn't been moved in ages. It's not just a part of the wall around a city. For many people, it symbolizes their deepest wishes and the promises they hold dear. The fact that it stays closed makes it even more significant. It's like it's waiting for the right moment to open and show us something important. This shows us how places we can visit and see with our own eyes can touch our hearts and minds in ways that are hard to explain. They make us think about things beyond our everyday lives and connect us with hopes and dreams that are bigger than ourselves. The story of the Eastern Gate is a great example of how places that are important in religion bring people together, not just in one place, but across the whole world. It's amazing how a single gate in Jerusalem can mean so much to so many people, no matter where they come from or what they believe. Without saying a word, this gate tells us a lot about hope, unity, and the power of faith to make us feel like we are part of something bigger. It reminds us that what we believe in can bring us together and help us find common ground, even if we come from different backgrounds. Exploring Judaism, Christianity, and Islam, the Eastern Gate stands out as a key symbol of messianic hopes and spiritual satisfaction, showing faith's long history across different cultures. Chapter 6. The Eastern Gate's role in prophecy and unity. For people who follow the Jewish faith, the Eastern Gate, which they also call the Gate of Mercy, is very important because it's linked to the hope that the Messiah will come into Jerusalem through this gate. This idea is based on stories from Jewish religious texts that describe this event, making the gate a place filled with waiting and spiritual importance. When Sultan Suleiman closed the gate back in 1541, many believed he was trying to stop this future event that was foretold by their faith. By doing this, Sultan Suleiman's actions became a part of the story of religious prophecy, blending history with spiritual beliefs. This has made the gate not just a physical structure, but a symbol of hope and expectation for the future among the Jewish community. For Christians, the Eastern Gate is tied to very special moments in the life of Jesus. These moments include the announcement to Mary's parents about the birth of Jesus and Jesus' proud entrance into Jerusalem on what is now celebrated as Palm Sunday. These historical connections have made the gate a symbol of key Christian beliefs like the virgin birth and the idea that Jesus was the Messiah who fulfilled prophecies. This connection to Christian stories and traditions has made the gate an essential part of the Christian understanding of salvation, adding depth and richness to the Christian faith and its teachings. Muslims call this gate Bab al-Dahabi, or the Gate of Eternal Life, and see it as connected to beliefs about the final judgment and the resurrection of the dead. This belief links the gate to the end-of-the-world events shared by all three major religions, making it a symbol of both an ending and a new beginning in their religious stories. For Muslims, the gate's importance is woven into their broader religious narrative about life after death and the ultimate destiny of souls, showing that this ancient gate is seen as much more than a physical entryway, but as a portal to profound spiritual truths and mysteries that touch on the very essence of faith. The way that Judaism, Christianity, and Islam all see the Eastern Gate illustrates how a single location can hold a multitude of meanings, becoming a point where different faiths intersect, each attributing its own layer of significance to the gate. It highlights how places can become saturated with the hopes, beliefs, and prophecies of diverse traditions, turning the gate into a powerful symbol of not just the shared expectations for a messianic future, but also the unique ways in which each faith views the end times and salvation. The Eastern Gate, with its deep historical roots and spiritual significance, stands as a poignant reminder of how physical landmarks can embody the rich tapestry of human belief, serving as markers of faith's enduring power to inspire, unite, and provoke thought across generations and cultures, embodying the collective human quest for understanding and meaning in the sacred narratives that shape our world. The Eastern Gate has a big impact on how people live and what they believe, showing up in many parts of our lives, like in wedding traditions, where the person marrying carries their partner over the front step of their home. People think this tradition might have started because of what the gate represents. It's a good example of how important religious symbols can become a part of everyday life and society's rules. Archaeologists are really interested in the area around the Eastern Gate. They dig around and under it to learn more about the hidden history. Their work tells stories about the people who lived in Jerusalem long ago. They found some pretty cool stuff, like Solomon's stables, and these finds start conversations about how old certain buildings are and the stories behind them. All of this digging and discussing helps us learn more about the complicated history of Jerusalem. The gate is a special place for people visiting for religious reasons and for experts studying history and culture. It shows how a single place can mean a lot for our spiritual beliefs, the stories of our past, and even the things we do every day. The gate being closed makes people think about all the different times in Jerusalem's history, what's happening there now, and what might happen in the future. It's a powerful symbol of the city's importance to lots of people all over the world. By linking us to stories that have been told for generations and making us think about the city's influence on the world, the gate helps us see how Jerusalem has shaped human history. Every part of the gate, from the stones that lead up to it to the secrets buried beneath it, adds to our shared knowledge of the city's place in our collective history. It encourages those who study history to look even closer, and those who hold the city dear for religious reasons to ponder its deeper meaning. As a place where different paths of belief, history, and culture meet, the Eastern Gate stands as a reminder of the rich and complex mix of human experiences and beliefs. It highlights the city's role not just in stories from long ago or in religious teachings, but in the real stories of people who have walked its streets and those who hope to do so one day, underscoring the gate's lasting significance in our shared human story. If you enjoyed our deep dive into the transformative power of technology in modern society, don't forget to hit like, subscribe, and share your thoughts below. What's your vision for the future?